point, we're excited on the road, and then about halfway through, we're getting tired, and it's 4 separate rotates right now. We do like 20 now.
We finally get into our house in McKinney, and we pull the Sprinter van in backwards into the house.
And we're immediately the freak show neighbors.
Her payment for fostering one of our dogs, we sent her steak and toilet paper. I was like, I need you to pull it together. And she's like, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah, we have some fun holiday traditions, I guess, from earlier. It's basically McDonald's breakfast sandwich, which, by the way, screw you, McDonald's, extend your breakfast hours again. Welcome to Diaries of a Dog Rescue, episode 3.
Guys, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Duke.
And we are the founders of the Powerful Rescue, but also spearheading revenge tours worldwide.
Yeah. All right, well.
These are going to get cheesier and cheesier.
Hope you guys are enjoying this. Okay, so episode 3, Diaries of a Dog Rescue. We are officially in Texas.
Yep.
Actually, backtrack. We got to drive to Texas. So
wait, hold on. So if you guys are just coming across this video, we're basically mapping out how we got to today. So the first episode, we interviewed me.
Guys, it's episode 3.
Okay.
That should be self-explanatory. Go back and watch episode 1 and 2.
And then 2 was
due. Don't need to waste time on this.
So just giving people the heads up that there's just like why we're here. So at this point, Duke and I have basically proclaimed our love for one another, and we were going to pack our stuff and move to Texas together.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
With only 7 dogs.
Only 7 dogs.
That was it.
Yeah.
So the day before we are leaving Los Angeles, it was the first week of October in 2020.
Yep.
Duke gets his car stolen.
Yep. Yeah. And we were actually coming back from training that night. We were all packed up.
Yep.
So Steph was actually in the hottest outfit I think I've ever seen her in. She was wearing like 2XL baggy joggers and a tank top. Ooh. So hot.
That's what you remember from that night, that your car got stolen, is what I was wearing?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a simple man. I don't need much.
To be young.
But
Anyways.
yeah, we got home super late. So the car was probably stolen around 1, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
We'll flash forward because we find out at the end of the month who it was.
Right. Dun, 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 stay tuned.
But yeah, they ended up tossing Amber's ashes and her collar, my first hospice dog.
Yep.
Which I don't hold many grudges, but I'll take that to my grave.
Yep.
Those little words I can't say on here.
The C word?
Yep. So anyway, we then go rent this Sprinter van.
Yes.
And we are headed to Texas with 7 dogs.
Yep.
Which at the time, it's funny because we're flipping through videos. We might be looking down at the phone as we go here. Just we're trying to outline
Refresh
the month
our
of
memory.
October. But yeah, there was a point, we're excited on the road, and then about halfway through, we're getting tired, and it's 4 separate rotates right now. With these 7 dogs, and
it's really rough.
4 rotates. Oh,
Like
we do like 20 now. Cakewalk. But
I know.
No, I mean, it was a good trip overall.
Whoa. You're forgetting a very big part of the trip that was not fun.
Oh, the AC.
Yeah. We rented the Sprinter van that did not have AC. And granted, this was like a luxury.
Well, and it was a last minute
rental.
pickup because of the car being stolen. So it was very clear, we had dogs, we were doing a transport. We needed AC, and yeah, the AC in the back didn't work. So we were frantically getting fans, and it was a very stressful last day for sure.
And granted, it was October, so it wasn't hot.
No, but we had to go through Arizona.
And obviously Arizona was still hot in October. And Liam,
he had a rough time.
He had a really rough time. We had him basically in the front by the AC, and
Blasting
he was like
with fans.
panting.
Yeah.
And then
Even
we're like 3 hours away.
Yep.
And the car decides to start taking a shit on us.
Yep. We start having engine issues.
Yep.
Smoking.
We're 3 hours away.
Accelerator's not working.
We had been driving for 20 hours at this point, maybe 23 hours at this point.
Yeah.
No sleep.
And mind you, straight, because we can't stop with the dogs.
Yeah. And Duke starts asking me, did you put diesel in this thing? I was like, no, I haven't even pumped gas. Like, he's such a gentleman. He usually gets out of the car and pumps the gas. I was like, I haven't even touched the gas tank at all. Like, you've been doing that. So if you did that, it's your fault. I was like, but I didn't put anything in the car. And we start calling, the dealership, but it was California time and they weren't open, and it was a whole thing. And we basically, the last 3 hours turned into 6 hours because we had to drive like 40 miles an hour.
Yep, literally.
The whole, like the rest of the drive, which was effing miserable.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? This is such a bad idea. Such a bad idea. It's fine. So anyways, we finally get in. We finally get into our house in McKinney. And Duke's mom was living in Texas at the time. She was in Plano.
Yeah.
And she was so sweet. She like got the house cleaned up and had like an air mattress on the ground because our furniture, our furniture hadn't arrived yet. And we pull the Sprinter van in backwards into the house.
Mm-hmm. And we're immediately the freak show neighbors.
Well, we're like, we had the Sprinter van doors open in the back.
Yeah.
And we're like trying to hide how many dogs we're actually bringing into the house, because obviously nosy neighbors, there's a blacked out Sprinter van in the front.
Right. The new people.
There's like crates and dogs are barking. I'm like, oh my God.
We have Mateo, whose fur is still a mess. He was cryptorchid, so he had gone through surgery, but still looked very mangy. We had Audrey, beautiful King Corso, but like super dog aggressive, reactive still at this point, even though we had started pack walks. Hannah, who was human aggressive, black German Shepherd.
Walter Helen, who are just like, just a mess. Like
they're not used to long road trips.
No, they hate
car
rides.
Does bad in the car. Then Liam, again, we talked about him, looks like a bait dog, like he had been beat to shit. So it was.
And to be honest with you, those are like the best looking dogs we had in that house at the very beginning. What that neighborhood saw in the year that we were there, like those dogs looked in pristine condition compared to the
I'll tell you this, it got to the point where we were walking around one-eye, three-legged Linda in a wagon, like passing
Wendy in a wheelchair
passing. There was a
Priscilla,
a group of Priscilla who had doggy dementia and was just barking in a wagon. But we would literally have them in a wagon going around the neighborhood, just trying to get them fresh air and stuff while they were recovering. And
PJs.
They were house moms, the neighborhood housewives. There was 4 of them. They were all blonde, and they would sit out every Sunday and drink wine with their like labs. Literally,
their beautiful labs.
3 purebred labs, and they would sit there and we'd wave. They'd never wave back. They would just watch us.
I was like, why am I never invited to the day drinking events in the neighborhood?
It was so uncomfortable. Anyway.
So we arrive, we're like sneaking dogs into the house.
Yeah. I will say it was a massive relief, and it was really nice that first day, especially, like seeing how the dogs, because these dogs were coming from LA. We hadn't had them long. So watching Audrey, Hannah, Mateo rip around because it was a big backyard.
Yeah.
It was a nice sized backyard. It was fenced in, and watching them rip around the yard, like the first time they've really had a big yard. Cause when you were staying at Naya's, it's a backyard, but it's a California backyard with it's not the same as a big open grass yard.
Right.
Walter and Helen had that at your old place, but the rest didn't. So watching them run around
was really rewarding.
Awesome. Yeah. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, the first few days waiting on furniture, sleeping on an air mattress with 7 dogs,
Yeah. We designated one of the rooms a dog room. So we had.
Yeah, Liam took over the closet. Liam loved his closets.
Yeah. Liam would break into any closet. Mm-hmm. He knew how to open doors. I don't know how.
No.
He knew how to jump on kitchen counters.
Yeah. He was sneaky. He was fat, but sneaky athletic.
Yeah. So,
still a lot of snacks in his days.
Yeah. So we designated one of the rooms the dog room, and I think we had all of them in there. We had Walter Helen.
So we had Walter Helen. Because it was 3-bedroom. So Walter and Helen actually were in our room. That's right. Walter and Helen were in our room. And then we had Audrey, Hannah, Mateo crated because they didn't get along yet.
Yep.
In one of the rooms, and then Liam had a full room to himself, even though he just used the closet. And eventually we used the office, but not at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was kind of the crew.
Yeah.
And then, you and I were on the air mattress going through our new honeymoon phase. That was about to get extremely stressful.
But that first month was so nice. Like
it was. Steph wasn't full blown at work yet.
Right.
It was still kind of an adjustment period. And granted, it was 2020. So things were still very weird and different. But being in Texas, it was a big change from coming from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So we were able to go out and do some other stuff. I don't think we pulled any dogs the first month. Looking through, I think we were still getting our feet wet, and we were still on the fence about what we were doing in California.
We didn't pull any dogs in Texas.
No, we pulled Howie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we rescued Howie, who went with Lindsay.
Initially, yes.
Mm-hmm. And Howie's story real quick. because he was rough.
Howie was an owner surrender that was completely emaciated, was probably kept in a crate outside. And he was brought into the shelter with that purple iodine that we've talked about that people use for livestock when there's like an open wound or something. Yeah. They'll put that on there. But for some reason, people use it on dogs, and you're not supposed to use it on dogs. And Howie, it looked like they probably poured it on him while he was in a crate.
I could tell you without a doubt they did, because Howie had some demons.
How he reacted.
I've never seen a dog with demons like Howie, and it broke my heart.
And not that Howie was a bad dog.
No, but Howie in a crate, no matter, I mean, we'll get to it, but years with him. And when he went in his crate, it didn't matter. When he was in that space, he was a different dog, full-blown panic mode, attack you mode, and you couldn't bring him out of it.
It was really
even when he came out, it was tough. So, I mean,
because he was an affectionate dog outside of his crate.
I'm pretty positive, I mean, he had some kind of injury issue, and they definitely had him pinned or in a crate restrained, and were pouring that iodine on him, burning him. He had some real demons. That was tough. Yeah.
So, but we rescued Howie with Lindsay, and then went with Kathy. I know. And then one of the trips back to California, we went brought Howie
later
back.
On.
Yeah,
but the focus for us the first few weeks
was getting the house set up.
Yep. And there was a lot to do. We bought the place sight unseen. So, I mean, I had to turn in a handyman for a few things for sure. And then we realized real quick, our neighbor directly across from us, the two on the sides were pretty cool.
Yeah.
The one directly across from us, not so cool. They had two little dogs. And they
you mean behind us?
Behind us, yes. Yeah, directly looking out of the yard.
Yeah.
They had two little dogs that they left out all the time. And I mean, we were there, a year? Like, I mean, freezing through the brutal winter freeze that Texas had back in 2021. They left them out, hot summers, outside all the time.
And we used to talk to them all the time.
Fights. Yeah, we would talk to them all the time. They didn't care. But they were fence fighting with our dogs every time we brought them out. So I was putting up little makeshift fences, and we were trying to do what we could. And
we'll insert all of the versions
I got
of
it
the
all.
fence that we tried.
Well, also, and again, the decision to move away to a place without an HOA, we were limited as to what we could do. Everything had to be up to code with the HOA.
Yeah, HOA would have had a fit if they saw our backyard.
Yeah.
The type of makeshift fencing
I had to be sneaky with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried everything. But trying to use that so that we could have the dogs out there, because we were still trying to get Audrey, Hannah, Mateo to get along.
Right.
So, I mean, we started this in LA where it was 3 45-minute pack walks every single day. And that went on into Texas. That was the protocol. You know, these were 3 dogs that hated each other, were dog aggressive. And I mean, some of the most extreme we've had in the rescue, not reactive, not selective, they were aggressive. Yeah. So, I mean, it was every single day, 3 45-minute walks. And
they were crated next to each other.
At night. We got to the point, we'd have 2 of them out where they'd be on leash in the house, starting to share space.
Yeah.
But that was such a rewarding experience.
Yeah.
Because they did start to get along. Yeah. I don't know if it was in October, but I know October for sure. We got at least, because I'm looking at it, Audrey and Mateo. And I remember the first time they started playing.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Well, it was extremely rewarding. I kind of felt like I missed out on some of that because I was going into the office towards the end. Yeah. Where Duke was spending a lot of one-on-one time with the dogs, and I was in an office 4 or 5. No, it was 4 days out of the week. I stayed home one.
It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't awful, but he was spending a lot of time with the dogs, and I come home one day and he's like, everyone's fine. Everyone's alive.
I did that a few times.
No one is hurt. And I was like, what happened? And he's like, I was on a call. I had, Audrey. No, I had, it was Audrey and Mateo out in the yard. Yeah. And I forgot that they were outside, and I was on a call, and I let Hannah out. And I was like,
well, no, I brought them inside, my dumbass, and they were hanging out inside. That's how bad it was and how brain dead I was. I brought Hannah just into the house. Yeah. And
now they all get along. Yep. But I will say this. It was all of the prep work that happened.
We were just about to that point, and I think the shock factor was just like, oh my gosh, guys, we're all together. What do we do?
We're all free. We're not on leash. Yeah. We're not on a back walk. And it was that entire month of, because at that point it was where we were adding Hannah to the pack walks. Yep. So it was an entire month of pack walks with Mateo, Audrey, and Hannah that paid off because, you know,
that could have been very bad.
Duke's a strong guy, and I'm pretty sure he would have broken up a fight.
I would have figured it out, but it would have been bad.
You know, everyone would have ended up in the emergency room. I would have come home to a bloodbath.
To Audrey's one of 2 dogs in all the years we've been doing this, all the hundreds of dogs that has put me on my ass. Audrey was a tank.
Audrey put me on my ass one day when I was walking her and Mateo at night in McKinney, and both of those, I know, in public, they embarrassed me in front of my friends, in front of my wine drinking friends across the street.
Wine wives.
They both saw a bunny. And thankfully I had both leashes wrapped around myself real tight.
Yeah, but it took you down.
But it took me down. And I don't know how I didn't react faster. I didn't even see the bunny until the bunny darted across the street, but they had spotted the bunny way before me. But
that neighborhood was full of bunnies. It was brutal.
I know that neighborhood.
But yeah, I mean, and again, it's not that it was resentment, but it was a strain on our relationship for sure. And I think in both ways, because we moved to Texas to start this sanctuary.
Right.
And we understood it wasn't going to happen at this first place. The goal was, you know, we're able to help more dogs in Texas now.
Yeah.
We have our own place. It's a fresh start. And there's a lot of dogs in Texas that need help. And then we hit the roadblock of realizing that it's not like Los Angeles where you have fosters coming out of your ears.
Right.
So that was a hurdle. And then from a time standpoint, it's like, okay, well, we have this home, we have the office, we have room to bring in more dogs. But from a time standpoint, again, we've adapted. I mean, there's been days where one of us does a transport and we're here with 30 dogs and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Day in life. I mean, it wasn't back then. 7 dogs back then, you work your way up was a lot. Right. So Steph is in the office 4 days a week and I'm at home with 7 dogs and full-time remote job and training.
Right.
So it was definitely a strain, I think, for Steph but missing out on it because you want to help.
Yeah.
You want to help. You want to be involved. We both have this goal. And for me, it's just a lot of fatigue. It's a lot of fatigue where, back then, you know, just.
What a wuss.
Yeah.
I'm tired with 7 dogs. Suck it up. Buttercup.
Well, and a lot of housework too. Like there was a lot we had to fix up to start building out because we did, you know, we had some projects around the house that we were hiding from HOA that we were trying to get done. So it's just really long days and it's obviously a big change. We moved to Texas with this idea in our head and it's just not happening. We're hitting roadblock after roadblock. So it was frustrating.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
we also didn't get to spend a lot of time with each other because any extra time outside of work and I mean, taking care of the dogs wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've adapted to that now.
Right.
And Steph and I have found ways to work in, you know, like our relationship.
Right.
But still, you know, we just took our first break in over 3 years to go to Sedona.
Yeah.
And prior to that, it had been 3 years since we'd actually gone out on a date.
True.
So, I mean, it was working around that new dynamic of we're in a new relationship and there's not time, we're realizing there's not time to nurture that relationship.
Right.
So that was an adjustment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that lasted me working at that office job. I say office job. I was in the marketing department up until I think it was January. And then I started working remote.
4 or 5 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took a pay cut and started working remote so that I can be at home with you and the dogs and really dive into rescue the way we want to do it.
Yeah. And that developed, I think, for both of us, because it was obviously a long conversation. And again, not real great advice for everyone, like new relationship and then leaving your steady pay job to take a pay cut to work remote. But it was all centered, I think, for both of us around, you know, the thing that was causing the most friction was us not being able to do what we set out to do.
Right.
And the end game goal was we are here to help dogs.
Right.
We want to start this sanctuary. We have to fully commit. So it wasn't like we were upset with each other. It was upset that we're just banging our heads against this brick wall and it's not what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And we tell people that all the time. Rescues, like it's, you know, you think you're going to start a rescue and you have these medical dogs and everyone's going to support you and everyone's going to want to foster and you're not entitled to.
People don't owe you.
No, people don't owe you shit. You're not entitled to people's hard-earned money. You're not entitled to their time, to the fostering. So it was just a big learning curve for us.
Yeah.
And, you know, we also spent a lot of money leaving California and buying a new place.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just, it was a lot. Yeah. I think, you know, people talk about some of the most stressful things you can go through in life. It's a divorce.
Yeah.
It's moving.
Yeah.
New job, losing a pet. Like we had all of that thrown at us in the
2
middle
months.
of a new relationship in 2 months on our way to Texas.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, it's a Tuesday. But back then it was tough. But that crew, man, that was a special crew.
That was a special crew.
I don't know about you. I won't speak for you. I'll go to you next. But
Okay.
I don't think I've had a crew, and I mean like kind of a one crew at a time like that I've bonded with as hard. I think it's really hard to pick outside of maybe the seniors.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, the seniors. But man, outside of that, I don't know, Audrey, Hannah, Mateo, Liam, like what a special crew.
Yeah. And I think it's just because they went through like a very big life change with us as well. And it was less dogs.
What's it called? Trauma bonding?
Yeah, trauma bonding.
Right?
Trauma bonding. But we had less dogs. It was more one-on-one
part of it too.
Together. But yeah, that crew was very, very special.
Yeah. One, it was rewarding getting Audrey, Hannah, Mateo to get along and watching them thrive. And back then, with 30 to 40 dogs now, the way rotates are set up, it's all day. So we're rotating from the 3 yards. Dogs have training time, walk time, PT work, treadmill, and then we'll have one dog at a time in the kitchen. So they're kind of hanging out with us as we go, and they're getting more of an experience in the house. But it's not like we can have 3 dogs hanging out on the couch.
Right.
That's not what you do when
We
you have
also
30,
don't
40.
have a couch.
We also don't have a couch. Yeah. But
Step one, get it.
back then, there was time, as hard as it was. I mean, I can't remember the last time outside of Sedona we watched a movie together. Back then, it was like every Friday.
That movie in Sedona?
I think we did.
fell
Yeah.
asleep.
No, we did.
What did we watch? Oh, Dune.
Dune.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. Good movie.
Yeah, it was really long. I think it was a 2-day. Anyway, it was like Friday or Saturday, Steph and I would have a movie night. We'd order DoorDash and we'd lay on the couch with the dogs and watch a movie. So, I mean, again, that's part of why we love adopting dogs out, as hard as it is to let them go. That's what I want for them. I want them to have a family. It's the little updates where it's like an adopter sending us a picture on the couch with the dog, and it's like that made my whole day.
Yeah.
Because it is hard. We don't get to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So back then, I think on top of what we were going through, trauma bonding, big move, and having a smaller crew, we got to do stuff like that.
Right.
We still do field trips with different dogs that need exposure work, but it's more on a time allotment. Back then it was every weekend. Mateo would go to Dick's Sporting Goods with us. Audrey would go to the park. Hannah, who again had some serious behavioral issues, we would take out. So we were able to, interact with them more in like a family sense, instead of like, man, we have so much work to do, kid, let's get to it.
Right.
It was more of a family feeling.
Well, and I think when people reach out and they're like, can you please save this dog? This dog would be, you guys are the only ones that could save this dog. This dog would be perfect. It says Powerful Rescue all over it. Every time we bring in a new dog, and we say this time and time again, but every time we bring in a new dog, it takes 1 minute away from each and every single dog.
More, but
you know what I mean? Every time we bring a new dog, it takes time away from the others that are here. And we're already stretched so thin. And we already don't get to do the things that we loved to do back then with these dogs because of how many we have and how many need a single rotation.
Yeah. You're able to do
these dogs are living a great life with us, yes. But we would love to be able to have the more couch time. And let's just take a stroll through the park and not be stressed about shit. We need to get back home because we need to feed and rotate. And if we don't start now, we're going to be rotating until 1 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, we just did Shadow's field trip on a day in life video a little while back, and Home Depot exposure, pup cup, and it's like, oh man, like a walk through the park would be nice, and it's like, oh no, we've been gone 2 hours, like we gotta hit it. So
it's also summer in Texas, so it's 1,000 degrees.
Shadow was like, screw you guys.
Shadow's like, catch me in the wintertime, guys.
But no, I mean, it was really cool watching those dogs come out of their shell. And the structure and routine started to build, because when you were at work too, I would drop you off in the morning. So I'd be up early. Hannah and I had like a routine. It was like a 6 a.m. walk. So we would go on our dad-daughter walk, because Hannah was another cool one, because she didn't warm up to Steph right away. Hannah had some human aggression, and she was very hard to trust, or she had a hard time trusting people.
Right.
So Hannah bonded with me really hard.
You were her person.
So we had that relationship where I would make it a point to do one-on-one time, even when she learned to get along with Audrey
Yeah.
and Mateo. We had our morning walk, and it was just us before we had to like get to work. So little things like that. Audrey loved watching TV. She's one of a few dogs. I know a few dogs do it, but man, like I would turn on the TV for Audrey while I was doing something, or, you know, I was putting together furniture when it got in, and I'd be sitting there for like an hour, you know, putting a bed frame together or something. And if I had the TV on, she'd just sit right by me and just watch.
Yeah.
Like would not lose focus, like drills, hammer, nothing, just watch TV. Yeah. She loved it.
That was her favorite thing.
And Mateo drove me nuts.
Why, sweet boy.
Mateo bonded with Steph. Mistake number 1. Mistake number 2. Mateo was the worst helper on the planet.
Don't talk.
Anything I tried to get done, he was your typical male goofy shepherd. So I have so many little clips of him just being an absolute terror, and in the most loving way. I love Mateo to death. Rooney is what his name ended up being. Yeah. But man, trying to get anything done with Mateo, like it was like something out of a movie. I'd be on a phone call and he would be calm and mellow like the whole day, and I get on the phone and he's jumping on me. Or, you know, he'd be calm, like sunbathing outside, and I would be trying to fix up the fence or brush the patio out, and all of a sudden he wants to go roll in dirt and tackle me.
Yeah.
It was just every time I had something to do.
And he was like an angel with me.
Yeah. Steph would get home and just, hi, Mom. Dad had a rough day. Not sure why.
I don't know why Dad's upset right now.
I don't know what he's talking about, Mom. I was an angel. Damn. Yeah. He dragged me through the mud a few times.
He did.
But he was a good boy. But yeah, that first month, I mean, it wasn't anything too crazy. It was a big adjustment, I think, was the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of getting our bearings in Texas and, you know, working through, you know, what the next steps were for us. Do you have a different view on it?
No, I mean, that's pretty much what happened in October. Yeah. I mean, it was nice. It was nice getting a fresh start.
Yeah.
It was rough at first because growing up in LA, I mean, I knew everyone and everything, and all I had to do was ask for a foster, and a foster was there. So rescuing was easier in LA. Having to start fresh here and find fosters and vets that we trust, and, you know, getting pull rights at shelters and trusting transporters, and realizing how big Texas is, and that there are shelters 9 hours away that you want a dog from. And it's, you know, it wasn't as easy as I don't know why I thought it was going to be easy, but as I thought it was going to be. But it really was, you know, such a nice fresh start to get to Texas. Yeah. And I really did, from the moment we got here, it felt very much like home.
It did.
Like I never felt like, I actually wanted to move to Texas years prior. But it felt like home when I got here.
You and I too, again, as stressful as it was, it's always felt comfortable with you. Yeah. I think being on the same page with your person, after a lot of ups and downs and a lot of second guessing yourself, that was a good feeling. Yeah. So we get into November real quick. Okay. November, we actually rescued Ida, I believe. Aww. Yeah.
Yeah, she was from
extremely emaciated. Yeah. And I can't remember, because we were still doing the fosters in LA, because the only place we could find fosters. We were, at this point, I don't think, 7 was still far above the city limit. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we were planning on adding dogs. So run everyone through Ida real quick.
So Ida was a senior Doberman that came in super emaciated, had von Willebrands, I believe. And I put out a plea for a foster in LA. And this wonderful woman, Lisa, stepped up to foster. And Lindsay, who is part of the rescue, she's actually one of the board members. Lindsay met Lisa at the Carson Animal Shelter, and because Lisa wanted to see Ida actually walk out of the shelter. We took Ida straight to the vet. She got fully vetted. I believe she was hospitalized to the night just to get her on IV fluids. And then Lisa picked her up the next day. And the updates that we were getting on Ida,
they were so good.
Lisa ended up adopting Ida.
Mm-hmm. Foster pill.
Yeah, she was a foster pill. Foster pills. And then Lisa ended up actually adopting another dog that she fostered for us. Yeah. This was a time where we're still going back to LA every other month. Mm-hmm. So whenever,
that drive became a cakewalk, by the way.
Yeah, it was so easy. But Lindsay was our point of contact in LA. So she was the one that was visiting our fosters, making sure things were okay, doing home checks, checking in on the kiddos there.
So in November, we also rescued, and this is hilarious actually, because I believe this little guy, little weenie, went to Tots. Oh, this was the Tots experience. Oh, come on. This is so good. Tots, we love you. But this was hilarious. Come on.
Okay, hold on.
You got to run through it. It's too good.
So we rescued He
was old.
He was 13, 14, something like that. He came in, his name is Mr. Wiggles.
Mr. Wiggles.
Mr. Wiggles came into the shelter with pearls around his neck and a note from his owner. I think his owner was elderly and can no longer care for him. And so he ended up at the shelter. And the minute I saw his little intake photo, I was like, oh my Lord,
Dagger to the heart.
Mr. Wiggles, I need you in my life. So I started putting out, I put out a foster plate. I found a foster, but the foster could only take him like in 4 days. And Mr. Wiggles needed to get out immediately. So my younger cousin, Tatiana, said, I will watch Mr. Wiggles. They've had two dachshunds at this point, like, growing up, and she was in her mid-20s at this point.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll watch Mr. Wiggles. I was like, look, it's only 3 days. She can take him on the 4th day. She goes, totally fine. Again, this isn't 2020. Like, things are still shut down and stuff.
Tots was already having a tough time.
She was already like, having a hard time not getting out of the apartment and being able to do things. So I think we Instacarted her steak to cook that night and toilet paper.
Yep. That was her gift.
Her gift, her payment for fostering one of our dogs. We sent her steak and toilet paper. Not even 12 hours in.
Yep.
She is texting me and she's texting me. She's like, I don't know if I can do this. I was like, what is wrong? It's a senior dachshund. He weighs like 10 pounds.
He sleeps all day.
No. It wasn't that. It was, he is coughing a ton. And it sounds like he's dying. And I feel like I'm going to walk in and he's going to be dead. And I just can't handle that emotionally. Like,
no, man, he was just a senior dog that slept all day. I was like, but the way he coughed or snored, it gave her anxiety.
It gave her anxiety. And I was like, Tots, it's just 3 days.
We need you to keep it together.
I was like, I need you to pull it together. And she's like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. The dog ended up having like fistulas, which are like little holes on the roof of their mouth. And sometimes it causes like reverse sneezing or coughing. So there was nothing wrong with Mr. Wiggles. He just had fistulas, which now knowing like a lot of little dogs end up having that. There's a lot of dachshunds that have it. But she stuck it out for the 3 days. And then he went to his foster mommy, Amy. And then he got adopted. But yeah, Mr. Wiggles was kind of a funny little dude.
He was a riot.
We also got to see him on that trip when we went to LA.
I mean, outside of that November, Mr. Wiggles, it was a blast. Yeah. Audrey, Hannah, Mateo are officially hitting their stride. They're basically best buds.
Yeah, that's when we took that infamous photo.
Yep. One of my favorite pictures of all time.
Yeah.
Three of them sitting outside. The housework, a lot of it's done. So less stress on that front.
Yeah.
Work is obviously still stressful. But we finally get our first win in Texas. Audrey. So we had a awesome family. Fill out application, go through the process, came by for the meet,
Well, they drove. They were from
they drove
Illinois.
all the way too, because that's the other thing. We don't ship dogs off.
Yeah.
That's always been a big thing. It stresses us out. The idea of just we put so much work into these dogs.
Yeah.
To just ship them off to people we don't. And look,
rule of thumb is if we wouldn't ship our personal dogs off to someone we don't know, we are not going to do it to a rescue dog.
Yeah. And there's no perfect way to do this. No. Again, we learn our contract gets updated every year. There's no perfect way to adopt dogs out. It's terrifying, but you put as much in place as you can to protect them.
Right.
Basically. But anyway, meet for Audrey goes great. It's she wasn't a single mom. She had a boyfriend, right? She was divorced a few years prior. Mm-hmm. With 3 kids, or was it 2? 3, yeah. And they come over and they do the meet, and Audrey is just the sweetest. Yeah. She nails it. I mean, she's sitting on the daughter's lap, giving them kisses. Mm-hmm. And Audrey was a lot of dog, yes. but they didn't have any other resident dogs. And that was Audrey's one kind of vice, because she learned to get along with Mateo
Yep.
and Hannah, but it was a long process, obviously. So she was still a dog that had to be the only dog in the home.
Yeah.
So, meet, process, everything goes great. And they take Audrey home, and that was kind of our first win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember we were so terrified.
Yeah, and I mean, I was heartbroken because this is early in the rescue. I'm trying to think at this point. There wasn't a hands-on dog that I had adopted out yet. Yeah, this was my first adopted out dog. Well, Nova, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the first one, like kind of officially being in the rescue that I had to let go of. And Audrey is.
I think Duke definitely had a hard time.
Oh man, I was an emotional mess. I definitely cried a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was hard. I loved Audrey so flipping much.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite dogs. Yeah, we got our first win in Texas.
Yep.
Things are looking up.
Yep.
I don't know. Anything else for November?
No, I mean, we're heading into the holidays.
Our first Christmas together.
We had our first Christmas.
Did we get sick this Christmas? Or
we did. We stayed home.
That's right. We got sick. Yep.
Yeah. Well, no. It wasn't that we were sick. It was we were supposed to go to Montana to see your family. Mm-hmm. Your dad got sick.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah, and so then, back in 2020, yeah.
Yeah, and so we didn't go anywhere for Christmas.
Right.
We stayed. We had our own little Christmas at home.
I know.
It was kind of nice.
Yeah, what did we do? We, because I think we did it the next year too, because that's the year that we got sick. We got, what was it? Christmas tradition became McDonald's, right?
Breakfast sandwich in the morning.
Sandwich in the morning, McDonald's, yeah. And I think that ended up being our tradition for Thanksgiving on our own too. Isn't that what we did this year?
This year we sat in the parking lot. It was so messed up. We people watched because there's a McDonald's right next to a Walmart.
And Walmart out here is closed on Thanksgiving.
Yep. And so we literally watched people turn into the Walmart parking lot.
Get upset.
And then literally cuss in the car and drive off.
A bunch of husbands that clearly were told to do something and said they got it and then figured they'd do it in the morning. Angry, ripping out of the parking lot, opening the door, running to the front door, realizing it's closed, slamming the door.
Yeah.
And we just sat there.
We're awful people. We just sat there eating our breakfast
sandwiches, laughing at people there's another one. Yeah, we have some fun holiday traditions, I guess, from
do we?
Earlier.
I don't know.
It's basically McDonald's breakfast sandwich, which, by the way, screw you, McDonald's. Extend your breakfast hours again.
Make breakfast 24 hours again.
Yeah, hashtag bring back breakfast until noon. Minimum.
All day.
All day, actually. I like that better.
Yeah.
But yeah. If you agree with us, comment below. McDonald's, wake up. All right. But that'll wrap up episode 3 of Diaries of a Dog Rescue, and we'll get a feel for the episodes for you guys as far as timeline goes. But yeah. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe.
And ring the bell, please.
And ring
We'd
the
greatly
bell.
appreciate it.
Episode 3 of Diaries of a Dog Rescue done. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining.